Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I always do my Q&A videos. So basically, I answer your questions, and you can leave me your future questions for next week in the comments below. But basically, people last week asked me some questions based on maybe the kind of related. A lot of these are related to that last week's show, so you might want to check that out. Um, but they always ask me great questions, and if you have like a question, even if it's not a great question, you can ask me it below, and I will try my best to answer everybody's questions. So, without further ado, let's get into the questions. So the first question is from Night Tiger Comics. I have a question. How do you hunt for comics? Is your hunt premeditated with goals in mind most of the time, or do you hunt blindly, often seeing if something catches your fancy? Okay, so I actually have all of that. It's like, um, so a story that I always tell, and this is like a story I'm going to tell again, is my first collected comic, like a comic that I saw. Like I collected coins, and I always talk about how I collected coins, but my local comic book shop, not comic book shop, my local coin shop actually had on the shelf a like a comic book. I was like, what's what's that doing up there? And it was like $10. I thought, wow, what a massive price. This is back in the early 80s. And I thought, it's just such a cool cover. I had to have it for my collection. And I didn't collect. I mean, I didn't have a collection really. I just had like the Donald Duck and like the all the Gold Key comics that my parents would buy me. Um, but this was something special, and I really liked it, and because it had so much going for it. And it was this comic. So it was like not that I was deliberately going in and searching for comics because I was at a coin shop, but I saw this and I had to get it, and I saved up and I bought it. So this is the one. This is the very first key comic in my collection, Howard the Duck #1, and I thought it was cool. It just had so many things going on for it. It had this kind of Dungeons and Dragons element, and it had this like Spider-Man coolness going on. Just so many cool things, and I just really loved this comic. So yeah, that was my first comic that I really collected. Um, but now when I collect comics, I try to be a little bit more sophisticated. I don't generally just go in and buy some random comics, but I still do that. you know, like when I go to my local comic book shop, I have two major comic shops actually three that I go to on a regular basis. One is only modern. They only sell modern stuff that just came out, and maybe they have a bit of back issues, maybe a couple months worth of back issues, not really far back. And in there, I go in, and sometimes I'll know which hot comics are coming out that week, or I'll kind of go in with a bit of that. But for the most part, I go in. I'd like to see what is out there. What comics made the shelf this week. So I'll go in and kind of pick up some things, and I pick up things based on cool covers, and I'll kind of flip through, though they don't really like you flipping through. I'll flip through and see if there's any kind of, the artwork inside is good, and if the story looks semi-intelligent, I'll look at that as well. But I do a lot of cover buys, and so when I hunt, I do that kind of thing. Now, often I get a lot of tips about good comics, to pick up. And Night Tiger, the one that's asking the question, actually recommended a book to me. And when he recommended, I was like, oh, that's an awesome book. I might as well pick that up. And he recommended this one, Molly O'Day. And this is the first Avon comic. I thought it was, and it's just like a really cool, good girl art cover, girl in the red dress, golden age, and just this crazy, like she's shooting two different directions, and just a really great cover. It's our first appearance, just so much going on. And so when somebody mentions something to me and I think it's really cool, like that I didn't know about, it's under my radar, I think, wow, I'll pick it up. And I paid, like, it says $250. I actually talked the person down and got a better deal. But it's just a really cool comic. And sometimes that's what happens with me. I'll buy based on that kind of spontaneous thing. It's not that I'm hunting for it, but um, that'll happen where I get recommendations and I will kind of act on those recommendations. Now, there is also another way that I do hunt, and I do have some deliberate hunting that I'm not completely random. Uh, I have this little list. This is my top 10 list, and it's like a little piece of paper, and I'll read to you. I'm going to do a special video about this near to the end of the year, so stay tuned for that, because I'm going to really, I kind of gave this list at the very beginning of the year, and I'm going to give it again now. These are the comics that I'm hunting for and that I really, really want, and that are kind of the ones that are my aspirations to get for this year, if not for the next few years, because I didn't expect to get any of them because they're kind of harder books to get. So I'll tell you what the list is. So the first on the list is Captain Britain number 8. And actually, I'm going to show this later anyways, but I'll show it since I have it handy. So this is Captain Britain number 8. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do another video where I'm going to show how many of these I actually picked up. But this is Captain Britain number 8. It's the first appearance of Psylocke. It's kind of a cool book. It's actually this oversized book. I didn't realize it was going to be this big, but it's very oversized, and it's very flat. It's very thin. Just a cool book because it is the first appearance of Psylocke. I thought that was kind of cool. So that was the first one on my list. Then there was Terry Toons 38, which is the first appearance of Mighty Mouse. That's one I really, really loved. That's a kind of a grail because it's a hard book to find. Then there's Adventure Comics 61, and you might actually see that behind me. Like, I always kind of never can do this that way. Okay, so I actually have that. Another one on my list was All-Star Comics number 3, and then All-Star Comics number 5, and then Marvel Family number 1. These are all really big books. And then Captain Marvel 22, and then Police Comics number 11, and Wonder Woman number 6, which is the first Cheetah, and Fantastic Four number 5, which is the first Doctor Doom. Many of these books I actually have. Over the year, I was managed to get most of those books. So when I'm hunting, I always try to find those books first on my mind, but then I have a much bigger list. I have this massive list of all these crazy comics that I'd love to get if I could ever find them. And the next question is really about that. So I'm going to actually leave it at that point for Night Tiger, but I will answer this next question, which will kind of go further into it. So Collect 06, he wrote, "Good day, Alan. What are your top 5 books you're striving to add to your collection right now?" Well, All-Star number 3 is definitely one of the ones I'd be striving for. And Marvel Family number 1. Those 2 books have eluded me, and I'd really love to add. And then Sunny number 12. Sunny is like Al Felstein art. I really like Sunny number 12. And what's it called? Junior Comics number 15. So those are like kind of, those 2 are both Al Felstein, and I'd really love to add those to my collection. And they're like, there's one that's right now available, Junior Comics number 15. Actually, I put a bid of $4,000 on it because it's the highest graded comic out there. It's a 9.2. It's like this really high grade golden age book, and I'm not going to win it. I have no hope of winning. It's already at $6,500. It's just blown right past my my high bid. I was hoping I could get it for that price, but it's one of those things where, even with like that, I thought $4,000 was a pretty big bid. But no, it's going to be a pretty expensive book, and it's right now on Comic Link, or Comic Connect, I should say, and I'm probably not going to win that one. But it's one of the ones that I would love to have. I'll have to look for a lower grade, not the highest graded ever. But that's one that I definitely want. And the 5th book would probably be one of my SOTI books. There's one that's called Crime Detective. I believe it's issue number 9, which actually is a really cool cover. And it's one that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. And the reason it's kind of got a cool cover is it's on the cover, they have Wortham in like sort of bondage. He's like all tied up and he's gagged. And it has like a caption saying, "This is how we wish him to be," kind of idea. It's like where they're kind of making fun of Wortham and the fact that he's doing this crusade against comics. Even before he came out with the Seduction of the Innocent book, he was doing this crusade against comics. And so a lot of the comic publishers really didn't like Wortham. And this was a comic that basically showed that distaste for Wortham. So I thought it was kind of funny. And I'd love to have that comic for my collection. I can never seem to find it, though. I haven't seen it ever for sale. So it's one that I definitely would love to have. So those would be my 5 ones that I'm really super actively searching right now. But so far haven't had much luck. Okay, so next question is from Rocket Fighter 8. I have a 3-part question. One for each of the next 3 weeks. Okay. So, if you were living in the following decades, collecting comic books for your personal enjoyment, not for their future monetary value, name 3 comic series from any publisher you think you would have collected. So this is for the first week. He kind of broke it out into 3 weeks. So I'll be answering this question again next week and the week after. So he put one question into 3 weeks worth of videos. So interesting. So I'm going to do the first one. He said from the 1940s. So 3 titles that I would have picked. If I could go back in time and there was like a local comic book shop or a newsstand, what comics would I have on my pull list, I guess? Probably just because it's not that different from what I did in the 90s, what I would have pulled in the 90s. I would have picked probably Batman, because I like Batman, just that whole kind of style. So I would have picked in the 1940s, I would have tried to get like a run of Batman as they came out. I just would get the Batman run. And probably Wonder Woman for the same reason. Like I like Wonder Woman. I would probably collect Wonder Woman. And the third one is actually like, I still love the good girl art. So I would probably get like some kind of like either Jungle Comics would be kind of maybe one, or the Al Felstein stuff. I really like the Al Felstein stuff, but there wasn't really much of a run. It wasn't like there was like lots of them. I would probably either get, probably Junior would have been the one that I would have like gotten as it came out, just because I would have been like, oh, that's a really awesome cover, and I'd just be like wanting to get it if I was back then the same me that I am now back then. I'd probably say that those 3 would be the titles that I would kind of go for. As I said, maybe the Jungle Comics, because it at least had a longer run, and it had a lot of great good girl art. So I really liked that series. So those would be the ones. And that's not really about money. But the funny thing is, what ends up happening is, and this is something that you'll find if you really get into collecting, the things that you love, generally other people love too, and then they become valuable. So people love Batman, and it's not that he's like this hot spec, he's a hot character. And that's a big difference. And that's why his books will always have value, because people they love the books. They don't love the spec as much as the books. And that's a real difference. And that's why, it's not about buying things that have like some hot potential spec value. It's about buying things you love, because but it just happens that those 2 things end up working together, because things that you end up loving will end up being pretty valuable in the future, because other people will also love them. It's kind of cool that way. So those would be the ones I would pick. Okay, so the next question is from Clinton Rathbun. Oh, sorry. He just he basically it was just a comment. He really enjoyed my show. That was it. Another good show, he wrote. Okay. Another question um, from Black Box Silver and Bronze. Okay. Black Boxed Silver and Bronze. Okay. So you can check out his channel. I'm giving everyone a shout out that asks me a question. Do you know the total amount of comic books in your collection? Do you know the total breakdowns by age, platinum, golden, atomic, silver, bronze, etc.? Okay. So my collection is I was kind of calculating it at one time, and I calculated around 20,000 comics. So I have about 60 boxes of comics. So 60, and then there's other boxes as well. So um, it worked out to being around 20,000. That's including my magazines. So magazines and comics. So that whole collection is around 20,000, give or take. I'm never sure. I never count them individually, so I don't really know, but I'm going to say 20,000. But that's just the boxes, okay? Then, then there's more. I have about 600 slabs. So I estimated that. I counted the ones that were outside this room, and there's about 170 out there. And then there's just, if you look at the wall behind me, like each row is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17, sorry, and then 20. So it's 20 just to go the length in slabs. And then there's 5 rows. So that right there in that wall is 100 comics, 100 slabs. And then there's like a whole bunch in front, and then there's a whole bunch that go around the room. And then I didn't have enough space to put all my slabs out, so I have about 6 boxes of slabs that are all packed, and that's another 200. So so there's a lot of slabs. Maybe I was wrong in estimating. And then I have slabs all around the room as well. So it's like just so many slabs. Maybe I don't know. I always underestimate a bit. So probably in that 5 to 600. I would say 600 slabs actually. So that's kind of my collection there. And then I have a whole bunch of other things. So it's a massive collection. In terms of the breakdown, most of my comics would be modern comics. I do have probably about 500, I would say 5 to 600 Golden Age comics. Um, and silver, kind of the same idea, maybe a bit more silver, maybe 1,000 silver issues. Um, and then bronze would be quite big because all my magazines would be Bronze Age. Like they're mostly bronze because they're from the early 60s all the way up to 1983. Like because I collected Warren, and that's when they ran from 1958 to 1983. So and there's like over 10,000 magazines in that collection. So, and it's just that era. So it's a lot of Bronze Age. So that'd be, kind of the breakdown of that. And then in my actual boxes, like, it's just like a lot of modern and bronze and copper age books with, obviously some silver age and stuff mixed in, but that would be the breakdown in terms of platinum age. Now that's the interesting question to me, because platinum age is like anything before 1940. It's like the earliest age, one of the earliest ages. I actually do have some platinum age books, and I don't have many. I do not have many platinum age books, but I think I have like maybe 3 or 4 platinum age books, so not too many. I believe that I'm not sure if New York's World's Fair comics right there would be considered platinum age. It's 1939, so it's kind of at that time period. So yeah, so those would be those would be all the breakdowns of my collection. It's a massive collection. It's just that I've been collecting for so long. Now I'm gonna just have something a little bit different than me just babbling the whole time. I kind of wanted to show something, and this is because of last week somebody was asking me about this. I mentioned that I bought this Judo cover, and it was a pop comic, and I mentioned that I did judo, and I kind of wanted to show something that's kind of funny, and I think this will kind of break up the video a bit, but I wanted to show, like they said, oh, do you have any photos or videos of me doing judo? And what happened was I do have a video, but I can't find it. I don't know where it is, and I really should know where it is. I just don't know where it is. Where one of my students, he was really into photography, and he really liked me as a teacher. I was like, I taught judo for many, many years, and he really enjoyed me as a teacher. And he was like this big photo geek. He was like really into like amateur photography, but he would have like all the professional gear, and he recorded me fighting. But it was a competition where it was kind of interesting. I was kind of put in, like I was pretty light at the time. Like I was a little bit skinnier than I am now. I'm pretty skinny in general. Like I used to always fight 60 minus. Okay, that's my weight class if you know anything about judo. So that's a tiny guy. I'm a little guy, a little guy. And they didn't have anyone who I could fight. I was without any competition. So what they did was they said, "Oh, okay, well, we'll just put you in a few weight classes up." So they put me in the 71 minus class, which is 2 weight classes up. But I actually like that. That was a good thing for me because I hate fighting people my own size. I actually have more difficulty fighting people my own size than these, bigger people. I prefer fighting bigger guys. So I was happy that they put me in the higher weight class. So I ended up fighting 3 fights, and I won all 3 fights easily. Just destroyed the guy. It was just so funny because I was so used to fighting little guys that and with little guys they're always so fast. They're just like hard to pin down. They're hard to get. They're just really fast and they're really short. So it's just like, and they're stronger than me and faster than me. It's like it was just always brutal. But fighting these guys that are a little slower, a little taller, I could do my normal throws that I normally like to use, and I could go, like I felt like they were just letting me throw them. I was like, wow, this is awesome. It's like really great to have that opportunity to just, I'd literally just grab the guy at the beginning of the fight and throw him. And that was the whole fight. So it was like literally 3 fights in less than a minute. All 3 fights ended with like maybe 20 seconds each. It was really, really short fights. So I do have that video. It's like, it's like these 3 fights that are really, really short. But that was the video of me fighting. And I don't know where it is. It's kind of funny to watch because it's just me destroying 3 guys. It's just kind of funny. But he also did these kind of cool posters of me. Like he likes, as I said, he's really into photography. So he recorded me fighting, but he also like did these awesome posters, like kind of mock posters, where he made this like Sports Illustrated thing. And it's like, this is me looking very mangled. Usually you have 2 gis. One is a blue gi, one is a white gi. It depends on what side you're on. And this is me wearing my blue gi, and he's just like me kind of looking a little bit beaten up. And he put like nunchucks. He like photoshopped nunchucks on me, and he shows me like fighting other people. And it's just like kind of funny. So this is his like Sports Illustrated mock-up that he did, and I think it's kind of funny. And he puts like the 2008 World Masters, which I competed at the 2005 World Masters, but not the 2008 one actually. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So I thought this was cool. But he also did, so that's one kind of cool thing he did. And then he did one more. This is maybe a better photo of me. As I said, this guy, he was kind of a fan of me. he was, as I said, he was an interesting guy. He really enjoyed my classes, and he enjoyed doing photography. So he really got into making these kind of posters of me, like doing judo. This is my yeah, me doing. This is my black belt photo. That was kind of fun. It was kind of silly that he did these, and I thought it was really nice of him to do it. Really, really nice guy. And I actually taught his kids as well, so it was kind of cool. So I teach him and his kids judo, and my class, we had about 30 students. Maybe that would come out on a regular basis, and then maybe the class was ultimately about 100 students. It wasn't a huge school or anything, but I enjoyed teaching, and it was a really fun time. Like just and he did these nice posters of me, so that was something I just wanted to show. To show that to sort of follow up on, somebody asked me about to show pictures of me doing judo and stuff, so I figured I'd show that. Okay, so back to comics. That was sort of the intermission, I guess. Okay. Uh, Now, somebody asks, Steve Harrison asks, do you collect price variants? Not specifically. So, I do like the rare price variants sometimes. I think that is kind of cool. And if I can pick it up for the same price as the regular version, I will definitely pick up the price variant. But I don't actively go out and seek that price variant. The weird thing is, when I collected Warren comics, or magazines, I should say, I did collect the price variants because the price variants represented either the Canadian version or the American version. So I'd try to collect all the Canadian versions, which was easy because I'm in Canada, and usually you'd actually get stuck getting the Canadian one, and I'd have to go to the U.S. and pick up all the American versions. So I did collect the price variants because I was kind of a completist. I really wanted to have all the different variations, like the Australian versions, the Canadian versions, the Japanese versions of all these Warren magazines. So with Warren, I really do get into that whole price variant collecting, but with other comics, not so much. I don't really care. I prefer to get the American editions for the most part, unless I can get like a price variant, as I said, for the same price. So that's a very short answer to that question. Um, Now, a couple people asked me, like last time I talked about my top 10 favorite MCU, DCU movies. And I recommend you watch last week's video if you haven't seen it, because I really get into a lot of this movie related stuff and comics. And I basically gave my top 10 list. So there was a couple questions that came out of that. One was from Night Tiger again. Night Tiger Comics asked, do you ever watch the first Wonder Woman movie from the early 1970s? And at the time, I actually had seen it, kind of. I didn't really remember it. Like it was like a movie I had sort of seen back then, and didn't really remember it that much. So I ended up, after I saw this question, I ended up watching it. I actually downloaded it. Downloaded it, and I watched it. The music's kind of cheesy. It's kind of got its little 70s charm to it, I guess. It's a different actress than the woman from the Wonder Woman TV series, which I thought was interesting. And I actually prefer Linda Bell. Is it Linda Blair? No, it's not Linda Blair. What's her name? Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting Wonder Woman's name. I actually even have the whole TV series on video. But yeah, the original Wonder Woman, Linda. Is it Linda Hamilton? No, I don't know. Why am I blanking on her name? Comment below. You're gonna make fun of me for not knowing Wonder Woman actress's name, but I'm an idiot, so I just can't remember right now. But yeah, so I really liked her much more than the one that played in the movie. The movie is from 1974, so maybe they realized that she wasn't the right fit, and I think they went with this other woman. The woman that was in the original Wonder Woman movie was blonde, which kind of didn't really fit. Wonder Woman's usually black haired, so another thing. Okay, so that's I did. So I did watch it, but only afterwards. Um, the next thing was another question about the movies. Did you ever see the original live action Doctor Strange movie from 1978? No, I didn't, but I saw clips from it. It looked kind of cheesy. It's something that I definitely would love to watch because I love cheesy movies. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I definitely, that's another movie that's on my list of movies to watch once I find a few minutes to actually watch them. I haven't really been able to watch even the news. I'm a big news junkie, and I haven't been even able to watch the news lately. So I've been so busy. But I definitely want to watch that. And also, have you ever seen the Black Scorpion movie from 1995 by Richard Corbin? And oh, and do you have her first appearance in comic book? Warning: if you watch it, it does have a new topless sex scene in it. I do, I I do have this character's first appearance. I actually don't think I have Black Scorpions. I might actually. I'd have to check. I'm not sure if I have Black Scorpion's first appearance. I might. I'd have to double check. Um, but when you say nude topless sex scene, well, you got me sold. I'm gonna definitely watch it. And Richard Corbin, oh my goodness, he is like the ultimate cheesy director. He actually made a Fantastic Four movie, which I did watch. Uh, I definitely recommend it because it's so cheesy and low budget. Yeah, so definitely I'd love to watch that Black Scorpion one. Um, so yeah, I haven't seen either of these movies though. So I'd love to see them. So that was from Mike Swindell. Um, so yeah, so I'm going to be watching those movies, and maybe I'll give you my feedback in a later video. Okay, so um, now last question is from Richard Lashira. Do you collect any Marvel Epic or DC Vertigo titles from the 90s? They featured a lot of covers worth collecting just for the interest of art and design. And yes, I do collect. The only problem is, and I actually put them in one box. Okay, so I have like books of magic. Um, there was Vamps. There was a bunch of Vertigo titles that I collected, and I put them all in a box. And it's one of those boxes that's a little harder to get to than some of my other boxes, which is not necessarily a good sign. But I did collect a lot of those. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't like. I also have a complete run of Doom Patrol, which is like that 90s series with kind of like really unique art. And I have the of Mystery series, which is also kind of that Vertigo crazy one. And I have the Swamp Thing Vertigo title, which is also kind of so Books of Magic, Swamp Thing. There's like so many that Vamps is another one. There's a bunch of series that I did collect. And I collected the Vertigo title not really because of the artwork. It was more about, to me, that they were kind of cutting edge in terms of the stories that they were telling. Like you could tell that they had a little bit more artistic freedom to kind of tell the stories that they wanted to tell. And sometimes they were a little weird, and but for the most part I thought it was kind of cool that they had that kind of freedom. I love when writers and artists can have that creative freedom to just go wild with it. And the Vertigo title definitely had that. In terms of Marvel Epic, I do have a bunch from that as well. So these are ones that are kind of cool, and I definitely recommend people check them out. Um, but definitely they have some really, I don't know, like almost psychedelic covers, I would say. But yeah, so Vertigo is definitely one that is worth checking out. So that has been my Wednesday Q&A. I think I got everyone's question. not as many things that I showed in this video. I feel like just grabbing things and showing it just for fun, but that's why I showed the judo stuff just for fun. Um, but you know, so if you have questions, if you want something for me to show, I can definitely bring out books to show in the next video. And just leave that comment below and ask me your question, and I will definitely show some cool stuff when I can. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for, please like and comment and subscribe. And check out my last video. I recommend you check out the last week's one. I show a lot more stuff, and it's a really fun video. So yeah, thanks again for watching.